It is regrettable that when commissioning the Tema Motorway interchange, the zero-sum game brand of politics practiced by President Akufo Addo, which emphasizes polarization instead of cohesion, caused him to depart from the noble tradition set by the venerable President John Evans Atta Mills of blessed memory, and followed through by President John Dramani Mahama, which saw them invite President John Agyekum Kufuor to the commissioning of the N1 project and the Bui Dam, which he found money for. While in office, President Mahama demonstrated his capacity to execute such major road projects by starting and completing both the Kwame Nkrumah interchange and the Kasua interchange projects, respectively. He gave life to his vision to further modernize the road network across the country by securing funding for a number of major interchange projects. In November 2016, President Mahama secured $32.9 million and $84 million for the Obechembi-Lamte and Pokwasi interchanges, respectively. If you happen to pass by the former Obechembi-Lamte circle or the Pokwasi road and find interchanges coming up, please note that those projects have been made possible because President John Dramani Mahama found money for them, and they are his initiative. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, we also know that all the efforts President Akufo Addo has put into disparaging the achievements of President Mahama are but a defense mechanism against the exposure of his abject failure to match up to his predecessor sector by sector. President Akufo Addo has benefited from more resources than any other leader before him. At the last reckoning, he had access to close to 250 billion Ghana cedis in 3.5 years, compared to roughly the same amount available to the NDC between 2009 and 2017, which is a period of 8 years. President Mahama, within the 4 years of his stewardship, had access to barely half of this amount, yet produced the most outstanding outcomes of any leader in the Fourth Republic. The danger that the Green Book poses to President Akufo Addo is a grave one, as it provides the most compelling and visceral proof of his mediocre performance compared to his predecessor. Hence, the extraordinary lengths he has gone in a fruitless bid to discredit its contents. Time would not permit a full analysis of everything contained in the Green Book, but I would be remiss if I failed to highlight the performance of President John Dramani Mahama in 2 or 3 sectors in order to offer perspective on just how abysmal his successor, President Akufo Addo, has been. As the foreword of the Green Book, penned by then Communications Minister, Dr. Edward Omanibuama, makes clear, the projects and programs captured in there were by no means exhaustive, as there would not have been enough space to do so, given the sheer scale of the work carried out by President Mahama while in office. There are therefore many projects that came on stream after the book was published, like the Bank Hospital and over 22 polyclinics. A lot has already been said, ladies and gentlemen, about the unprecedented investments President Mahama made in the health sector, which investments have become the mainstay of the current fight against COVID-19. I would like to focus, therefore, on other sectors, such as education, water, transport, and energy, to demonstrate the gulf in performance between John Dramani Mahama and Nana Akufo-Addo. After coming under heavy criticism for having little to show in the education sector by way of infrastructure, which has led to the obnoxious double-track system at SHS level, the Akufo-Addo government has begun passing off some classroom blocks as notable achievements. The Minister of Education only last week claimed that his government has constructed 321 classrooms. Please note, classrooms, not classroom blocks. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, this claim is most misleading, I beg your pardon. The truth is that President Akufo-Addo has only 196 classroom block projects to his name since 2017, after having access to over 250 billion Ghana cedis, which is far more than any of his predecessors received. Many projects that are ongoing at the SHS level were inherited from the NDC government. To be exact, a total of 766 classroom block projects were bequeathed to this government by the Mahama administration. And this is a fact contained in the documents presented to Parliament for the collateralization of GET Fund for a loan of $1.5 billion to complete them. In fact, both the Minister of Education, Matthew Opoku Prempeh, and his deputy, Dr. Yao Educhum, are on record and are widely quoted in the media as having said this openly. And if you pan to my left, you find that on the screen. We display the exact quotations of the Education Minister and his deputy regarding how they were going to Parliament to look for money to complete 766 classroom and other projects that were initiated by President Mahama. The NDC's record in terms of education infrastructure far outweighs anything the MPP can lay claim to. And I present a summary of them below. Now, under the NDC government, we constructed 1,347 classroom blocks, not classrooms, at the KG level. Indeed, between 2010 and 2016, we undertook a total of 5,128 different projects at basic school level, comprising of the following: 3,322 classroom blocks, not classrooms, at primary and JHS level, 73 teacher accommodation facilities, 1,161 washrooms, and 82 water systems in schools across the country. At the SHS level, we started over 1,000 classroom blocks and other projects. 123 community day senior high school projects were started, out of which 80 had gotten off the ground and reached appreciable stages of completion. 42 of them had been commissioned and had in fact admitted students as of the end of 2016. And here, let me say that one of the most bizarre arguments made by the MPP, right from the president to the least person in the MPP, is that 25 of the community day schools were financed by the World Bank, and so they cannot be counted as part of President Mahama's achievements. It is the most ridiculous argument I have ever heard. In other words, because the World Bank gave President Akufo Addo $100 million to pay for some of the interventions during this COVID-19 period, he cannot be said to be the one who did it. It is a most bizarre argument which must be dismissed with alacrity. At the tertiary level, the NDC established 3 new public universities, namely the University of Health and Allied Sciences, the University of Energy and Natural Resources, and the University of Environment and Sustainable Development. A new campus was built for UHAS at Sokode in the Volta region near Ho, while President Mahama found an amount of $50 million for the construction of the Somenya campus of the University of Environment and Sustainable Development. He actually cut short for it on 29 December 2016, and indeed, this is what it looks like at this moment. So when you pass by Somenya and find this beautiful campus of the University of Environment and Sustainable Development, please note that it is the direct result of President Mahama's work. The only notable contribution of President Akufo Addo to tertiary education is the unnecessary renaming of existing institutions after MPP figures. And indeed, we all know that 2 years ago, but for public outcry, President Akufo Addo was threatening to name the University of Ghana after his grand-uncle, J.B. Dankwa. This is a matter of public record. He claimed that his grand-uncle, J.B. Dankwa, was the founder of the University of Ghana, when we know that it was a colonial administration in 1948 that founded that university. The other notable achievement of President Akufo Addo in tertiary education is the introduction of the draconian Public University Bill, which seeks to undermine academic freedoms and make the various universities appendages of the new patriotic party. In the area of water provision, for instance, President Mills, when he took over power in 2009, met water coverage, that is the percentage of Ghanaians who had access to potable water in 2009 at 58.5%. President Kufuor had met it in 2001 at 54% and improved it by 4 percentage points. President Mills took this to 63% by 2012. President Mahama, who had barely half of what President Akufo Addo has had in the last 3.5 years, took this or increased it by 13% to 76% as of 2016. In absolute terms, what this means is that the NDC increased water supply capacity by 109.7 million gallons per day to serve an additional 7 million Ghanaians in over 2,000 communities across the country. President Akufo Addo, despite all the 250 billion Ghana cedis he has shrunk this to 69% as we speak, with virtually no significant water project to boast about. And these figures are verifiable from the website of the Sanitation and Water Ministry. In the electricity sector, I beg your pardon, President Mahama ramped up generation capacity by an additional 2,000 megawatts and increased electricity coverage from 54% in 2009 to 84% by 2016 by extending electricity to 2,900 communities. Despite having 250 billion Ghana cedis since taking office, President Akufo Addo has added approximately 0 megawatts generation capacity and has only increased electricity coverage by a paltry 2%. So compare 30% increase under the NDC to just 2% under President Akufo Addo. In the transport sector, where we now have 3 ministries instead of 1, which existed under President Mahama made telling contributions which as yet remain unparalleled. In the aviation subsector, for instance, President Mahama did the following. The 5 million passenger a year Terminal 3 at the Kotoka International Airport. And it is going to be displayed shortly on the screen for you. The modernization of Terminal 2 at the Kotoka International Airport. President Mahama did the whole airport. And for the avoidance of doubt, the whole airport exists. There are those who go about claiming that it is an artist's impression in the Green Book. It is an actual airport that exists. President Mahama also did phase 1 of the Kumasi International Airport, which made it possible for flights to take off and land at night because of the provision of aeronautical gadgets. He also found $72 million for phase 2 of the the Kumasi International Airport. And if you see a modern terminal building coming up at the Kumasi Airport today, please note once again that it stems directly from the handiwork of President Mahama. President Mahama also did phase 1 of the Tamale International Airport, which has made it possible for Hajj pilgrims to fly directly from Tamale to Mecca or Jeddah to perform the important pilgrimage. President Mahama also modernized the Wa airstrip. Now, despite all the resources he has received, President Akufo Addo has nothing to show in the aviation sector beyond the creation of a new ministry. He is yet to lay even 1 meter of runway anywhere in this country in the aviation sector. In the maritime subsector, President Mahama counts amongst his achievements the massive MPS terminal, which has doubled the capacity of the port and transformed it into a world-class facility, which is displayed on the screen to my left. And it is second only in size to the Lagos port in the whole of West Africa. The completion of the first phase of the Takoradi Port Expansion Project is yet another achievement of President Mahama in the maritime subsector. And that cost 300 million euros to do. He also found another 300 million euros for the execution of the second phase. Another achievement in that sector is the expansion of the Albert Gosumtrisam fishing harbor. And for those of you who do not remember Albert Gosumtrisam, he was one of our most vibrant MPs who held a fort for us in Parliament, but he passed away a number of years ago. President Mahama expanded the port and deservedly named it after him. Now, beyond the baseless fault finding and the needless delay in the execution of the second phase of the Takoradi Port Expansion Project, President Akufo Addo has virtually nothing to show once again in the maritime subsector. In the railway subsector, President Mahama left even more indelible footprints. He counts amongst his successes the 20-kilometer Takoradi Secondary Kojo Krom Rail Project, which has 3 modern terminals along the route. In November of 2016, President Mahama secured and had Parliament approve $398 million from the Indian Exim Bank for the execution of the 84-kilometer Tema to Akosomo Rail Project. I need to stress, ladies and gentlemen, that if you happen to find rail tracks popping up between Tema and Akosombo with terminals, it is down to the work of President Mahama. President Akufo Addo knows next to nothing about it. Here too, beyond the creation of the completely needless Ministry of Railways, there is little in terms of achievement that President Akufo Addo has, which could be compared in any way, shape, or form to what President Mahama delivered. Lip service has continued to be paid to President Akufo Addo's promise to build a rail line between Ghana and Burkina Faso. And with 6 months to the expiration of his tenure, no tangible work has been done in that direction. In the communication sector, where I happen to have served, President Mahama achieved such remarkable feats as constructing the largest data center in West Africa. He also laid a 510 kilometer long fiber optic cable, which has opened up the eastern corridor of this country to data services, and had the multipurpose Accra Digital Center established as a hub for tech companies and business process outsourcing firms. President Mahama also ensured the execution of the imposing headquarters of the National Communications Authority and over 70 enhanced community information centers, which are helping bridge the digital divide between urban and rural communities in Ghana. I might add, for emphasis, that the National Emergency Number 112, announced earlier this year by President Akufo Addo with pomp and circumstance, was in fact launched in 2015 by the Mahama administration. I happen to know because as Deputy Communications Minister, I chaired the Entity Tender Committee of GIFIC, the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communication. And so I presided over the review of the tender processes for the award of that contract to establish that call center. And there's one in Kumasi and another one in Accra. That was when the 112 emergency number was launched. Yet President Akufo Addo announced it with such glee when he commissioned some ambulances, as though it is an invention that he brought about. The paucity of investments in infrastructure by President Akufo Addo across board is amply reflected in key economic indicators presented in his own government's budget statements. Now, one of the best ways of assessing the government's commitment and actual investment in infrastructure is what we call the capital expenditure or CAPEX to GDP ratio, which essentially measures how much money is put into infrastructure against the GDP of a country. The higher it is, the more investment has been made. Now, a comparison of the CAPEX to GDP ratios under President Mahama and President Akufo Addo is presented in the table below. Now, in 2013, the CAPEX to GDP ratio of President Mahama was 3.9%. In 2014, it was 3.9%. In 2015, it increased to 4%. And in 2016, it increased to 4.6%. In 2017, under President Akufo Addo, it plummeted to 3.1%. In 2018, it took a further nosedive and came to 1.6%. In 2019, it was 1.5%. The figures for 2020 are yet to be computed because we are halfway through the year. And given the trajectory, there's every indication that it will plummet further. Now, these can be gleaned from the budget statements of 2013 to 2019. This table shows clearly that the best President Akufo Addo has to offer is still far less than President Mahama's worst performance, and should clear any doubt as to who operates within the realms of fantasy and who gets the job done. And indeed, speaking about fantasies, President Akufo Addo has appointed a director for the Cater Port, which does not exist. It should be very clear who operates in the realms of fantasy. The 2020 elections will be first and foremost a referendum on the stewardship of President Akufo Addo. And we in the NDC stand prepared to lead the scrutiny of his performance, or rather the lack of it, on the basis of facts and figures. There will be no room for untruth of the sort peddled by the president about the Green Book and the record of President Mahama. We in the NDC stand ready, willing, and able to quickly dispel such falsehoods with superior facts and incontrovertible evidence. As elections are also about the future, President Mahama has already given clear indication about some policy proposals that he will put on the table for the consideration of the Ghanaian people. He will, in the coming days, make public major policies to be rolled out when, God willing, he returns to the leadership of this country to salvage it from the path of certain ruin that the maladministration of President Akufo Addo has set it on. Based on the facts put out in this briefing, I would urge the Ghanaian public to totally disregard the false claims about the Green Book and the achievements of President Mahama. I also invite the media to increase their scrutiny and fact-checking of claims made by politicians, especially in the run-up to the December elections, so that unsuspecting members of the public are not deliberately misled like the president did last Friday, and also to ensure that the confidence and trust the Ghanaian people repose in public figures is not abused for narrow sectarian and partisan gain. Whereas a president's words should be authoritative and carry such weight as to settle controversies, President Akufo Addo has for some time now favored falsehoods and misrepresentations as a political tool. So instead of trusting his word as president and verifying later, which should be the case, it has become imperative now to distrust whatever he says until it has been verified. I thank you for your attention, members of the media.